Waiter gets fired for giving food to a homeless elderly woman. But minutes later, the restaurant owner's reaction will leave you in disbelief. When a compassionate act turns into a career-ending mistake, no one expects what happens next. The young waiter, simply trying to help someone in need, never anticipated the consequences. As the tension rises, the owner walks in and sees the situation unfold. What follows is an unexpected turn of events that leaves both the waiter and the owner facing a tough choice. This story proves that sometimes, doing the right thing isn't always as simple as it seems, but the outcome could change everything. You won't believe what happens next. In a bustling city, on a cold evening, a young waiter named Tom was working his shift at an upscale restaurant. Tom wasn't just any employee, he was hardworking, always went above and beyond, and was known for his kindness. He had grown up in a modest family and knew what it was like to go without, so he always carried empathy for those less fortunate. This wasn't just a job for him, he truly cared about the people he served and those he encountered daily. As Tom was taking orders from a busy table, he noticed an elderly woman sitting outside the restaurant. She looked frail, her clothes were worn, and she had a distant look in her eyes. She seemed cold and hungry, occasionally glancing through the window as she watched the people inside enjoying warm, delicious meals. Tom couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for her. He had seen her a few times before, but today, she looked particularly worn down, as if she hadn't eaten in days. The sight of her sitting there, alone and hungry, tugged at his heart. Tom felt an urge to help. He knew the rules of the restaurant strictly prohibited giving away food for free, especially to someone off the street. This place was upscale, catering to wealthy clients, and management had a strict policy about maintaining an exclusive atmosphere. Despite the potential risks, Tom decided he couldn't ignore his conscience. He quickly took a plate of warm food, a simple meal of soup and bread, and discreetly brought it outside to the elderly woman. Her eyes lit up when she saw the food, and she looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and surprise. "Thank you, young man," she whispered, her voice trembling as she reached for the plate. "I haven't eaten anything warm in days." Tom nodded and gave her a warm smile, knowing he had done the right thing. It felt good to help, to make a small difference in someone's life. But as he turned to go back inside, he noticed one of the restaurant managers watching him with a cold, disapproving expression. His heart sank, realizing he had been caught. The manager, a stern man named Mr. Green, immediately approached Tom with a look of frustration. "What do you think you're doing?" Mr. Green demanded, his tone harsh and unforgiving. "You know we don't just give away food for free. This is an upscale establishment, not a charity." Tom tried to explain. "I just thought she looked so hungry, and I couldn't just ignore her." But Mr. Green wasn't having it. Without another word, he told Tom to come to his office. In a few minutes, Tom was informed that his actions were unacceptable, and he was being terminated effective immediately. He was crushed. He had been dedicated to his job and had always given his best. Getting fired for such a reason felt unfair and disheartening. Feeling defeated, Tom gathered his things and walked out of the restaurant. As he passed the elderly woman, he managed a small smile despite the disappointment. She noticed the sadness in his eyes and asked what had happened. He brushed it off, not wanting to worry her, but she had already sensed that he had been punished because of his kindness toward her. "Thank you again for the food," she said softly, her voice full of genuine gratitude. "I'm sorry you had to go through this because of me." Tom reassured her, saying it wasn't her fault and that he would do it all over again if he had to. He believed that helping her was the right thing to do, no matter the consequences. And though he felt uncertain about what lay ahead, he walked away with a sense of peace, knowing he had followed his heart. Minutes after Tom had left, the restaurant's owner, Mrs. Lawson, arrived unexpectedly. She was a successful businesswoman, known for her dedication and professionalism. She rarely visited unannounced, but tonight she decided to stop by to check on the staff and the evening's operations. As she entered, she immediately sensed a tense atmosphere among the employees. Whispers floated through the air about Tom's sudden firing. Curious, Mrs. Lawson asked Mr. Green to explain what had happened. Mr. Green, still confident in his decision, explained that Tom had violated policy by giving food to a homeless woman. He expected Mrs. Lawson to commend him for upholding the restaurant's standards, but her reaction was far from what he had anticipated. She looked at him with a stunned expression, then asked, "And you thought firing him was the right solution?" Mr. Green, caught off guard, tried to justify his actions by saying it was essential to maintain the restaurant's prestige. But Mrs. Lawson saw the situation differently. She valued hard work and compassion and believed that kindness was an important quality in her employees. She wanted her business to be known not just for its food but for the values it upheld. Firing someone over an act of kindness went against everything she believed in. Immediately, she asked to speak to Tom, only to find out that he had already left. Determined to make things right, she asked her staff for Tom's contact information. As she dialed his number, she felt a pang of regret for not being present earlier. After a few rings, Tom answered, surprised to hear from the owner herself. Mrs. Lawson asked him to come back to the restaurant, explaining that she wanted to speak with him directly. When Tom returned, Mrs. Lawson sat down with him to hear his side of the story. As he shared what had happened, Mrs. Lawson listened intently. She could see the genuine compassion in his eyes, and it was clear to her that he hadn't acted out of disregard for the rules but out of a sincere desire to help someone in need. She was deeply moved by his story and impressed by his character. "Tom," she began, "people like you are exactly what we need here. I'm not only going to reinstate you, but I'm also going to make sure everyone here understands that kindness is something we should be proud of, not ashamed of." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Tom thanked her, relieved that someone understood his intentions. Mrs. Lawson went even further, announcing that she would implement a policy allowing unsold food to be donated to local shelters and those in need. She realized that small acts of kindness could make a big difference in people's lives, and she wanted her business to contribute positively to the community. In the weeks that followed, the restaurant's new policy gained attention, and many patrons praised the decision. The story of Tom's selflessness and Mrs. Lawson's response began to spread, inspiring others in the community. The elderly woman, who had unintentionally set all of this in motion, became a regular visitor not for food, but to share stories and connect with the staff who had come to see her as a friend. Tom continued working at the restaurant with a renewed sense of purpose. He felt proud to work for someone like Mrs. Lawson, who valued both the business and the community. And every time he saw the elderly woman, he was reminded of the powerful impact a single act of kindness could have.